you, coming to you, Mr. Rastogi, on this. You did mention about the fact that there has been a bit of an issue as far as the controversies that have been talked about. One of them, of course, is the decision to retrospectively, the entire issue essentially of what happened with the retrospective amendment that has been made to ITC on construction services. Now, how do you think that will affect investor confidence? Because as you said, these are issues that keep going back and forth, and it doesn't really leave a very good picture.
I think it has shaken the industry, so as to say. The industry was before the Supreme Court. After several levels of litigation, there is an order of Supreme Court which predominantly, and this is a beautiful order, where fine balance has been maintained between the constitutional test and the several other tests which the Supreme Court has laid down. Now the matters could be adjudicated by the adjudicating authorities based on these fundamental tests and principles laid down by Supreme Court. Now what happens is that GST Council proposes a retrospective amendment. The Supreme Court order goes for a toss. Now there will be either second round of litigation to test this retrospectivity and whether this can happen only in rarest of rare cases and whether this is the rarest of rare case and whether it has happened, and the test will be whether it has happened to just overcome the Supreme Court decision. So I think this is a spoil sport clearly. Now, having said that, there are certain aspects which need to be considered even if the rate rationalization doesn't happen. So for instance, what happens to at least the health insurance services when these are to senior citizens? Immediately the decision can be taken. What happens to food delivery platforms? What happens when you are taxing these services of restaurant at 5%, but you're taxing the confectionaries, the cakes, chocolates, etc. at 18%? There are huge demands which are there for this sector. I think these are certain simple measures which can be taken. And I think Shrimi mentioned about the luxurious items. The basic scientific way to address the luxurious items is to see whether these luxurious items could be imported within the country or not. And if the answer is that these could be imported, then the answer is different. For instance, if you tax watches or luxury watches at a higher rate, there will be a higher probability that the person will go out and buy that, as compared to those luxury services or goods for which the import cannot happen. So I think that scientific mechanism will have to be applied, at least if you intend to tax luxury items, supplies of both goods or services at a higher rate. Do not tax those at a higher rate, which could,
I completely agree with you, Mr. Rastogi, on that one. I can see Shrimi also nodding on it, but I'm